Okay, looks like everything's hunky dory here. So,
Folks on YouTube can hear us.
uh, hopefully.
So, um, yeah, so I'll go ahead and start with tonight's meeting will be conducted through an online virtual meeting platform. County commissioners and staff are joining us remotely in order to comply with Governor Inslee's proclamation 20.28.15 as it relates to open public meetings act during the COVID-19 state of emergency. If an individual planning commissioner become unexpectedly disconnected, please rejoin the meeting at your first opportunity. The record will reflect your attendance. The meeting will be paused for up to 10 minutes to address technical difficulties. If it cannot be resolved within 10 minutes, then the meeting will proceed so long as a quorum and planning commission members are present. Please activate your mute button at the bottom of your computer screen or on your telephone when not speaking. One final note. Well, we're not doing comments, so this is closed at this point. We will have public comment opportunity later on, I think. Again, I apologize, I'm a little rusty on this for a while. So the non-agenda public comment issues are a little harder for us to address. What I would like to do regarding that is for future meetings, should parties have a desire to provide a comment or something like that on something that's not on the agenda, please forward that to the planning staff at Planning Inquiry in advance of the meeting, and we'll try to get those. We'll get those when we get those types of comments. We will read those into the record. We'll also notify the individual that sent the comment request. So what I'm talking about there is when it comes to public comment, as far as a standalone section, that involves things. That's an opportunity for the public to maybe bring up, I don't know, just things that we haven't thought about or we're not discussing that evening, or things that they might like to have the planning commission or other staff or whatever comments they would like to make. We would hope they would be germane to land use issues. And to let the public know that should you desire to provide those types of comments, right now our forum's not really conducive to that. But we want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we're looking at some of the things that you think we should be looking at. We only can do what we know and what we see. So what we would ask is that in advance, our plan commission meetings are held first Tuesday of every month. Then we also do have special meetings, which are noticed differently, and those are usually held the last Tuesday of the month. But yeah, just if you have things that you'd like to see that you're seeing at the planning commission, or if you have questions, always feel free to contact staff. It's part of why we're here, is to help explain things, and to feel free to submit those comments. And if there are questions or things that you'd like presented to the planning commission, staff would forward those on to the commission and make sure that they're heard at those meetings. Again, these are not, public comment in this sense is not for, say, like agenda items or to make a comment about a specific proposal. It's more general things like, I don't know, we'd like you to build a monarch factory, whatever it is, within reason, of course. But to make sure that you're aware that we're open and that we'd like you, we do our job best when we hear from the public, and when we know that we're addressing the items of concern to the public. And heck, if you just want to give us kudos, we're always happy to hear those too. But again, just best done through public interaction. And I just want to make sure that the public's aware that though we don't have the standalone public comment like we used to in the in-person meetings, until we get that, I'd like to still hear from the public. And any comments presented to us will be brought to the Planning Commission's attention or will be addressed by staff when we receive them. And or I should say.
This is Roger. I have a question for Derek.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that we don't have folks show up and present something that is going to eventually come before us, or that
That's
communication?
That's the case even in a public setting. Before we used to have, a public comment, and that's for an opportunity for people to speak on items not on the agenda, current agenda. That's just a pretty standard. There is no way to know that until the application. So now if I see something and in the future that same item shows up as far as a specific action, we can probably make that correlation because we'd have a record of the submittal, and then we would bring that into the record. This was brought to our attention on this date. For example, it's just those things. See, we have access into the pathways of how the government works. Maybe it's not for our purview. We would be able to speak to that and say, this is not under our purview, but we can direct this question or comment or concern to that entity that it is. Or we can't help you here, but here's the people you need to contact in order to address it, like the school board. Like we have no say, no control over how the schools operate. But if somebody has a concern about that, and we're the people that they can find, then they should let us know that, and we'll let them know, and we'll give them the information that we have, or we'll work with them. It's mostly, like I said, just like often with code enforcement or things along those lines, we only know what we see and hear. We know what issues we see, but that doesn't mean that we're covering the issues or concerns of other folks out there that I don't engage with. The folks in the northwest corner of the county may have different concerns than the folks in the northeast. Those types of things. I don't get up to the Clovis area very often, so I would have no idea if there's things up there that those folks would like us to address. And it's just to make sure that everybody knows that we're in this, we still want to hear from the public. And if you have something that you'd like us to look at, let us know in advance. Send it to us. You need it in writing, otherwise it's what's known as hearsay. And I made so we would need it in writing, but email works fine, letter. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Sorry to be late. I completely forgot about it. So, my apologies.
So I think we're ready to begin, yes? It's everybody? Yep. Yep, there's 6 of us. Commissioner, Chair Pura, he stated, I think about a week back that he wasn't going to be able to make it. So we contacted planning, or staff looking at it. So everybody who said they're going to be here has arrived. So whenever Commissioner Corrales would like to start.
It is 6:56, and I call the March 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Franklin County Planning Commission meeting to order. Will planning staff please call roll and announce whether or not we have a quorum?
Kent McMullen.
Present.
Mike Vinson.
Present.
quorum.
Will staff in attendance please introduce themselves?
I'm Derek Broughton. I'm the Director of Planning and Building.
I'm Aaron Gunderson. I'm the Planner 1 for Franklin County.
I'm Rebecca Gilly. I'm the Planning and Building Services Administrator.
I'm Matt Mahoney. I'm the Franklin County Public Works Director.
This is Keith Johnson. I'm the County Administrator.
And this is Jen Johnson. I'm a civil attorney for Franklin County.
Very well. Now we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Link. I so that we approve the agenda as presented by staff.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Link has moved and Mr. McMullen has seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I will turn things quickly over to our staff host who will go over the format for tonight's hearing.
Mr. Chair, we have, this is Commissioner Link, we do have approval of minutes from previous meetings also.
No, I do apologize. We
Yeah.
have to get that on the, it's missing on the script. Thank you, Commissioner.
Is there a motion to approve previous minutes?
That's January 5th, correct?
No, it's let me look.
January 19th, I believe.
Yes, December 22nd, 2020, January 5th, 2021, and January 19th, 2021. That's, yeah.
Any motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lowe and seconded by Commissioner Vincent. All in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. They're approved. Now can we turn it over?
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So this meeting is continuation of the tabled item from January 5th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. The public comment portion of the meeting has closed, and we will not be accepting new comments. There was a typo in the re-advertisement sent out a couple of weeks ago, which accidentally included language about accepting public comments. We apologize for that confusion. At the January 5th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, 4 planning commissioners were in attendance and a quorum was achieved. Item number 2 of the agenda was for an open public hearing, the Planning Commission recommendation to the Franklin County Board of Commissioners regarding subdivision 2020-01. An application to subdivide approximately 108 acres into 74 single-family residential lots. After opening the hearing and taking testimony from the public, the Vice Chair closed the hearing and called for discussion and a motion. Discussion was held and the motion was made to recommend approval of the request. The motion was seconded, and after a brief discussion, a vote on the motion was called for. In the Planning Commission bylaws, it calls for votes on subdivision to be a majority of the entire board, not just the majority president. When the votes were tallied, 3 voted for and 1 voted against, which caused the motion to fail. Discussion ensued to come up with a recommendation to bring to the Board of County Commission a requirement under FCC 16.20.060. Agreement on recommendation could not be reached and the vote was tabled to the next regular scheduled Planning Commission meeting. The only Planning Commissioners allowed to take part in the following item were members present at the January 5th, 2021 meeting. This is to ensure the commissioners involved were present for the staff presentation and public comment. So,
Are there any questions? Go ahead.
No, you were right. Were there any questions?
Are there any questions of the planning commissioners regarding the meeting format? Turning for a moment to our commission members, let us keep in mind that we are prohibited by law from communicating with members of the public on the subject matter of these hearings except in these hearings. We also may not participate in a discussion in which there is an appearance of conflict of interest to the average person. So let us are before us for the hearing today. Whether we had an ex parte communication or attempted ex parte, take a minute, whether we have any ownership interest in the properties, whether we have any business dealings with proponents or opponents of the matters, whether we have business associates or immediate family who may either benefit or be harmed by a decision in these matters. Are there any commission members who are eligible to participate who have a declaration at this time regarding the item on the agenda? Let the record show that there were no declarations.
No, Mr. Chair. This is Commissioner Lane.
Yes.
On February 7th this year, I received an envelope in the mail from Mr. Hales. I recall that Mr. Hales gave testimony at our January 6th Planning Commission meeting regarding sub 2020-01. Consistent with the appearance of fairness doctrine, I did not open that envelope, and I sent it to Ms. Gilly with a written declaration to this effect. I asked that staff contact Mr. Hales to advise him of how his letter was handled. This action will have no impact on my ability to render a recommendation on sub 2020-01.
And staff does have that. It is sealed. So we have that. This is the declaration. And the letter is still sealed.
So we're done with that.
Unless there's anybody else.
Okay. Are there any procedural questions before we reopen the tabled item? Okay, seeing item number 1 is a continuation.
You
Recommendation
Yeah.
to the Board of County.
If it's okay with the chair, I'll go ahead and read it. Our connectivity seems
Yeah.
a little more solid. Okay. Item number 1 is a continuation of the vote by the Planning Commission for its recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners tabled at the January 5, 2021 meeting, Planning Commission meeting, for files SUV or subdivision 2020-01, an application to subdivide approximately 108 acres and 74 single-family residential lots. And time would be 7:06. Okay. Mr. Crowd,
Yes.
go ahead.
I will entertain a motion regarding the Planning Commission's recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for SUB 2020-1.
So nothing on this has changed since last time, right here?
Correct.
How many findings of facts and all that stuff were there?
I have 4, but it's not really discussed.
Yeah.
I believe there are 6 findings of fact proposed with several sub findings.
Yeah, I just, okay.
Here. Let's see. Come on.
I said, can't believe I
Hey, Derek,
Yeah.
I was looking through that. It sounds to me like we got a lot of feedback coming from the sound. Might be helpful if folks muted their devices while they're.
All right, with apologies, sorry about that. Yes, the original staff recommendation was that the planning commission put a positive recommendation to the Franklin County Board of Commissioners for applications SUP 2020-01 with 6 suggested findings of fact and 6 suggested conditions of approval.
I'll make a motion to forward to the Board of Commissioners a recommendation of approval for SUB 2020-01 with the 6 adopted findings of fact and the 6 conditions of approval.
There a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Lowe has made the motion. Commissioner Didier has seconded. Is there any discussion?
Chair, this is Commissioner Link.
Yes.
I have reviewed the matter again. I am unable to have affirmative findings of fact for 1, 2, 3, and 6, and I do not believe it is possible to mitigate any of the issues relating to such findings of fact. I would be happy to go through them if you're interested. We did that on January 5th. But I just do not believe that public safety, orderly development, general purposes of the subdivision ordinance, that we would be able to make affirmative findings of fact on those items.
Very well. Derek, is there any way we can bring all the commissioners into this decision by presenting all the information again?
Not really. The applicant could, no, unfortunately not. Well,
Then we know where we're at. So what do we do?
we're going to have to
I think you have to vote first and then go to that point.
vote. It's gonna have to, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Derek, I have a question quickly. So we'll take our vote, and then can another motion be made after that?
That's always the case.
Okay, all right, and all right, that answers my question. Thank you.
But the 4 of you would be the only 4 that are allowed to vote on.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, we've had a motion. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Melinda Didier,
Yes.
Leighton Lowe,
Yes.
Mike Corrales,
failed. Are there any more motions at this time?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I would like to make a motion, please.
Great.
I would like to move to forward the subdivision to the commissioners without a recommendation.
Very well. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been a motion made and seconded to forward the recommendation. The planning staff issued without a planning commission recommendation.
Discussion?
We need a second.
Discussion.
Did we get a second already?
I seconded it.
We
Okay,
got a
sorry.
second. Yeah.
Discussion.
Okay, so we've denied the request.
No, we haven't.
So there was a motion to approve.
We denied the motion. It's the same conversation we had last time.
The antonym for approve is deny. We did not approve the motion, hence it was denied.
No, it's the motion that failed, we didn't make a motion to deny the approval of the subdivision. We made a motion for approval. That didn't make the criteria.
That's a failure. The
No, it's
antonym
not.
of failure
It's
is
a
denied.
failure of the motion, not of the whole subdivision. The same conversation we had last time that we ended up spending 3 hours talking.
Yeah, I agree with, when something is not approved, it's denied.
No, if it's not approved, it's failed. The motion failed, not the application.
The new motion has been made, so, yeah, I mean, that's
Can we
probably
pass
how we
this on?
interpret this.
So Commissioner Didier proposed sending it on to them without a recommendation. Can we do that?
Perhaps we could get legal to weigh in on that.
Okay, so the problem we have is with your bylaws that require a majority of the board to make a recommendation on this type of application. So we are outside the standard Robert Rules of Order on how motions get passed or denied. In a typical vote, Roger would be correct. If the majority voted on it, it would either be a win. If the majority didn't vote on it, it would be a loss. So under the typical Robert Rules of Order, this motion would actually be a win because it's 3-1. But that's not the case we have before us. We are required under our bylaws to do a unanimous, in this case, 4 votes either to approve it or 4 votes to deny it. Obviously, we can't reach that situation. And it sounds like from what you guys are saying, it's impossible that you're going to reach that situation. So in this particular thing, I don't recommend that the bylaws harm the applicant. We need to move forward with this. So it needs to go to the Board of Commissioners with possibly an explanation that the Planning Commission was split 3-1. And leave it at that and put it in their hands to deal with. I think we've dealt with this long enough, and it's at the point now where we're possibly harming the applicant.
I would agree. We are definitely harming the applicant.
So we don't have to vote on anything, we just move it forward?
Well, we have voted positions that of the eligible commissioners have been made pretty clear. A motion was made to move it forward. So the question before the planning commission, I mean, one way to look at it is is that you've made a motion, it's been seconded. what needs to happen now is a vote on whether or not to move this forward.
Does this vote have 4 or 3 to get it over the line?
This is not a recommendation on a subdivision. This is a
Okay.
procedural action. Therefore, it would need a majority.
Okay.
Should know my.
Majority, because you're not making the recommendation. If you are making the recommendation at board, it must have a majority attached to it. If it was for approval. And I understand Mr. Link's position, but because our bylaws are through the inaction of our bylaws have determined that this is above and beyond, and apparently the Robert's rules don't apply because that bylaw is a deviation from Robert's rules. So, the question before us now is moved forward to the Board of County Commissioners with no recommendation. What that will look like is that it would be a articulation of what happened, and the votes would be presented to the board. And it moves, because remember, the board is the deciding body. The planning commission is a recommending body, staff is a recommending body. We make a recommendation to you, you either approve or agree with that, modify it, or reject that recommendation. It is the Board of County Commissioners that makes the decision. We are not going to sit, I mean, we can, but I wouldn't recommend that we sit here and just keep spinning on the same thing over and over again. We need to move it to the board. Part of due process is that the board, and when due process when due process, the final due process is to ensure that this item gets to the board. The planning commission is not a stop. We don't stop. We don't, just like staff does not have the authority to stop a proposal from moving forward. We only can make recommendation. It's the same thing here. Since the recommendation, the motion failed, so that's out. We have a new motion before us to move forward to the DOCC. No recommendation, and what would happen there is they would just be provided, this is the tally vote. Sorry, we couldn't come to a conclusion, and you need to make a decision.
Okay, we've got the information. Let's get a roll call vote.
Melinda Didier,
Yes.
Leighton Lowe,
Yes.
Mike Corrales,
Yes.
Roger Link.
Yes.
The motion has passed.
Okay, motion is approved.
And
And we will move on to,
so we'll add that into the staff report that moves forward. We do what's known as a summary. It kind of summarizes what happens at these events. And that's how it will be articulated. So we'll articulate this out. We'll also have copies, of course, of the meeting minutes. So the board will know how it played out. One thing we may want to look at is whether we want to continue that supermajority situation, because that can create problems down the future on other things, potentially. But that's,
And also, we needed better attendance.
well, that's
That's the
another
issue.
thing.
It would have passed if we had additional folks here.
Remember also, attendance and sanctioning and all that stuff is again in the purview of the board, or I mean the planning commission. So that's, again, remember, staff is here to advise the best of our ability through the presentation of facts or whatever regarding the application, and to provide administrative assistance, but we do not run the meetings. That is the chair and the board, or not the board. The chair, the vice chair, and the commission commissioners run their meetings, not us. We don't, that's why sometimes even you may make a recommendation and staff may have a different recommendation that goes to the board. But we don't facilitate these meetings. You guys, you're independent. So how you want to police each other is up to you.
Well, I do agree that attendance is important, but we had a quorum, which meets the requirement of attendance.
Yep.
So now that brings us back to the bylaws. So we don't end up in a spot like this again. Should we revisit that part of the bylaws to avoid this, so we're not postponing another applicant for as long as we have this one?
And I think that's going to be a great discussion when we actually bring forward the work that Roger and the other, Kat and Claude have done on the bylaws, and we start moving those to discuss. Because again, you have that power, and that is when you guys do the bylaws, as long as they meet the requirements of law and whatnot, it's up to you. It's not like the board approves the bylaws that I'm aware of. That is the rules and how you operate your meetings. So
And those are solely within our purview.
that's what I seem to recall. I just don't want to commit to that because I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, the board has the ability to appoint. It's not like a city planning commission. It is a county planning commission, which is extremely independent.
So I will coordinate, if that's okay with Roger and Kat, coordinate with you guys to figure out when, because I know you guys have got to really, you've done a lot of work on it, and I apologize because I haven't had an opportunity to really look it over. I will do that. I will coordinate with you two and Claude to determine when we want to bring this for the rest of the body. It's ready for that, wouldn't you say?
I think the one thing that I have been working my tail off to address is how the position, each commissioner recommends two positions. The one I can't figure out is how it's Columbia River West. How that position is selected.
I would have to look into that.
Because I can figure out how every other position is selected. And I think I've talked to Claude and I've talked to Kent, and that might be a position that is independent. I don't know. But we've got to identify how each of the positions are selected.
What do you mean independent? I'm not following you there.
Is that what you mean, like at large?
At large, I'm not saying that the individual would change, but just how is that selected? Is that you, Mike?
Yeah.
Who selected you and recommended you?
Well, I applied for the position in the county, and the county selected me.
Okay, so you probably are independent at this point.
I have no idea.
Because typically,
That's my territory.
yeah.
What is it now?
Typically, and then under state law, commissioners within their district recommend how to fill vacancies within their district.
Right.
As far as I've been on it, that hasn't been the case for most of the other commissioners. It was something that was posted when a vacancy came up, and they had, an application process.
Yeah.
So I'm talking with
That's exactly what happened in my case in the Columbia River West. Is basically a vacancy came up, and
I applied for the position. There is a map missing from the documents that planning staff provided us. That is supposed to show where the vacancies exist. I have not been able to get that.
And I'll clarify this a little bit. What happens is when there's a vacancy, we advertise for that vacancy. And in fact, we've now got it to where actually, even if you're in that position, you're gonna have to reapply.
Yeah, that's normal. If your term is up.
Yeah, some I was just kind of moving forward. I would ask people, you want to continue, and I would just bring that forward because it was working. However, I received direction from the board. We don't want it done that way. We want all applicants, even the sitting, will submit an application. So what happens sometimes is nobody applies. And we've got vacancy, we've got to fill it. That is when a commissioner, a board of county commissioner, will appoint someone. They will go talk to the person and appoint them to the position that's vacant because we can't fill it anywhere. We're not getting any applications and the application window is closed. That's my experience. That's how it's been done. Never, as far as the appointment goes. And I will need to double check, yeah. Or we may want to, again, in the bylaws, declare, Columbia River West position is at large. And that's the floater. So you've got one person as quote, has no, but generally what happens is we get the applications, staff reviews the applications, vets them to some degree, and then forwards those onto the board. The board as a body selects the individual. But if we can't get it, we still need to have the positions filled. So that's when, after a certain point of time, if you can't get anybody to volunteer, then the commissioners become a little bit more active in the selection.
But what I'm saying is that state law, again, when we have districts in specific areas, those are within commissioner districts. Typically, they're the ones that recommend people within their district. And again, that's consistent with state law.
But it's not a requirement.
Well, it is in our bylaws.
If it's in our bylaws, then they have deviated from that in the past.
No, it says should, it doesn't say shall. It says things like they should, so you'll see there's some shoulds, which of course should does not mandate, shall mandate, or must. But these are things, but again, these are the bylaw, and these are the things that were open to discussion. I don't know that tonight's the night. We need to have the copies, at least me. I do a lot better when I'm actually reading the words in front of me. And because, even a comma placement and things like that will change what it is we're discussing, and the meaning of what we're discussing. So I would like to get together with Claude, Roger, and Kent, figure out when they want to bring this to us, and then we will do a agenda item where it's a formal, we'll go through all these things and get this stuff figured out.
If I can get that map that's Appendix A, I can finish it up.
You're talking about the one that kind of roughly shows where the each of the different planning commissions, or you need the district map for the BOCC.
Correct.
The district
No,
map.
I have that. But there's a map.
That shows the planning commission.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, because the bylaws reference Exhibit A.
It's not in there.
For each of the businesses. Excuse me. Our location.
I should get that to you, probably, potentially tomorrow. Well, it's still technically a 4-hour day for me, but if you don't hear something from me by Friday, call me or
Okay.
send me an email.
Okay,
Because that should be relatively fast to get.
Uh,
That's it for me. Now,
actually, just to let you guys know, it is on the webpage for the Planning Commission.
that's really fast.
Yeah. If let me see if I can.
We'll get that link out to you guys
Yeah.
maybe even before we leave.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Matt Mahoney. I'd like to say one thing. I'll make it brief.
Go ahead.
All right. I know that Derek would never say this to the Planning Commission, but I think that it's important for the Planning Commission to know that right now the Planning and Building Department is very understaffed. We're down one person in the Planning Department. We're down a building inspector and about ready to lose another important building inspector to retirement. So I know he won't say it. We don't make excuses, but I want to let the Planning Commission know that they are doing the best they can. They're working as everybody in that office is working overtime to try to get these things done and in front of the Planning Commission and be top-notch completed staff work for you all. But I will let you know that they are getting tired, and we're working diligently to get the staff level back up to where it needs to be able to accomplish all the work that's going on, as well as providing the necessary support to the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. So that's all I wanted to say, and I appreciate the time.
Very well. Okay, if nothing else, we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just, I'm just like,